Okay. So welcome everybody. So, we're in the midst of chapter 3 right now of the Mitzvah Rebbe's Shar Yehud. And we're really entering a new perspective or within the chapter, it's a new way of looking at things. And he's taking us through a detailed meditation into the nature of Mimale Kolamim, which is the way that Hashem's light functions within what we could call the physical world. And in previous paragraphs, he spoke about the light of the sun and how that works as a particular mashal for Mimale Kolamim. And then last week, we started to look at paragraph 11, where he tells us, Reb Hillel tells us that the mashal of the sun is not enough because the light of the sun is only one of the ways in which Hashem's light works in the world, as it were. It's one mashal, but it doesn't really show the full way in which Hashem's light manifests in the world. And so we needed to look at other mashalim. So in paragraph 11 that we did last week, it's really an extraordinary paragraph. And we laid out really the four mashalim. And because this is such an important kind of structure to understand in order to go forward. So what we've decided to do in this class is to really do a very detailed review of it. But we're not just going to do it by reading through the paragraph, which is what we did last week. We asked people to really create a kind of mind map of all the different ways in which these mashalim work. So what we're going to do is Mila's going to lead us through this process of reading the paragraph and at the same time creating an appropriate kind of table or mind map so that you can really, really see it clearly. How we had these three mashalim, which break into four, how the light works, the or, the chayus, and the koach, how they work and what they are equivalent to. And so we'll be able to really see it visually and not just grapple with it in an abstract way. Okay, so without further ado, Mila, I'm just going to hand it over to you and let's see what we can do.
Okay, great. Thank you very, very much. So nice to see you guys here. And we're going to go straight into the text. By the way, thank you very much for all the beautiful diagrams and summaries that you posted in the group. And all our new people who have joined, Sarah and who else joined us? There is, Daniela. Please join the group if you haven't done so. And I'm going to share my screen, but my screen is going to be really divided into two. You'll see my screen divided into two. One will have a text in front of me, and one will have the presentation that we have. Okay, that's our usual slides that we have. And as we read the text, we're going to be going to the presentation and adding information there. And in the end, we will come up with a full table of content based on the paragraph that we're going to be learning. Okay, and if any questions, please ask them in real time so we can clarify as we move along. Okay, everybody could see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So let me just do the annotation thing right here. Okay. Yeah, you see my red ball, right? And be able to see? Okay, amazing. So paragraph 11. Okay, now we're starting with real work. And I want to walk you through of how to take apart pretty much any text that we're going to be dealing with, that where there's a bunch of details thrown at us, and how we can organize it, because that's the beginning of Iyun. Beginning of Iyun is that when we take all the ACAs, take in the letters that is presented by Rav, and we want to organize them. We want to create a particular structure that makes sense to us at that given moment. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Achina hamashal de'or hashemesh lo yaspik lahavin mimenu kol pirtei hasagazos. Right? And from the light of Shemesh, of the sun, it's not enough for us to understand all the details of this concept of the Mamalikul Almin, of the light of Hashem that actually penetrates the world and creates the world. And therefore we need for 3 other mashalim: the Or Haner, the light of the candle; Hayud Hanefesh, the life force of the soul; B'koach HaPoel, and the power of activator. B'chdei sheyavin kol pirtei hasagazos, in order for us to understand all the aspects of this concept of Mamalikul Almin. V'hine gimel b'chinas yesh b'chinas or. In the light of Mamalikul Almin, or Elokid Mamalikul Almin, right? In the light of Mamalikul Almin, the godly light, which we refer to as Mamalikul Almin. Okay, b'chinas or, b'chayus or b'chinas koach, right? It divides into 3 aspects. Okay, so somebody is making some arts here. So if you could, I'm not even sure how to erase that. Okay, some doodles here. Anyway, so in the 3 aspects of Mamalikul Almin, right, we have right here, we created a table, right? So we have Or, we have Chayus, and then we have Koach. Okay. Now, what they exactly mean, we don't need to know, right? Because when we are in the beginning stages of Iyun, all what we need to do is just to write down information as he presented. Okay, and that's a very, very successful strategy, because I don't need to understand what's going on. I just need to write down as he gives me the details. So then when more details come in, I'm actually able to put them in the right place. But right now we're a little bit more advanced, because we already know that he's going to be talking about mashalim. He's going to be talking about which levels of soul this correspond to, organs and vessels, right? But let's imagine we wouldn't know that. Okay, we're just going to be moving forward. We have aspect, which is a bechina, or chayus and koach. Okay, that's all what we know.
Mila, somebody is drawing on this. It's really going to become problematic. If you can, all the participants, if you can figure out if you are the one that is drawing on this image.
What I could do, I could stop share and then reshare. That's probably will erase the doodles at the moment.
Okay.
I guess it's just by touching the screen that could cause this. Okay. Yeah, I think it's taking care of this. Okay, so the doodles are gone. Okay. So we wrote them down nicely here, or chayus and koach, right? So now, why is he giving us the whole aspect of or chayus and koach? It's to show us that the mashal of the light of the sun was not enough. It was not enough, and therefore we need additional mashalim. And look what he does. He says, okay, we need additional mashalim. He levels them out to us. He mentions them to us. He doesn't give any details about these mashalim. And then he says, you know what? Let me help you. so you could understand the need for the mashalim better, I'm going to give you these three categories. It's or, chayus, and koch. And then he neatly puts them, lines them up, the mashalim, to which of the bethina of this light it will refer to. Okay? Vehine or hashemesh, hameir la'aretz, anu ro'im, she'eina meir ubarag b'derech hashra. Right? We see that the mashal of the light of the sun, okay, comes and shines in this world in a way of hashra. Hashra means is resting, settling upon. Bilvad only. Ve'ein lo his achdus klal im pirte hanivraim. And he does not really unite with the details of the creation of domem, tzomea, chaya, medaber, right? Which is inanimate, plant, animal, and human. It does not unite with it. Sheba Olam, that's in this world. The whole world, the way we know it, goes into these four categories of creation, right? And it's not. Because if we look at the sunlight, it's actually coming from a different planet. So it's not part of this planet. Kamuvor Rambam, as Rambam explains, the Galgalim hem Geshem Chamishi Nivdal Midalit Yisoid Zagashmi. Ve'ein lahem lotam v'loreachu. Right, as Rambam explains that the spheres, all kinds of spheres of different planets and stars, are a fifth substance, a fifth matter, right, which is distinct from the four physical elements. And they have neither taste or smell, etc., etc. So now when we have such a substance as sun shining upon the earth, right, that's a totally different substance. The earth has absolutely no equivalency of such matter being part of our world. Okay, so then what is it? So the sunlight does not really unite with the creation. Okay, it just shines upon it. We obviously have benefit of the sunlight, right? You're not going to go into the science of how sunlight benefits the earth. It's a tremendous benefit, but nevertheless, it does not unite with them. Okay, shemimeno nimshach v'nishpa lemata b'chinas or, right? From the sun comes the level of light, hagashmi b'nivraim, in the physical, in the creation. V'aor hu gam ken rag gashmi legabe makor haruchni. And truly, the light of the sun is only gashmi relative to its spiritual source. Aval hu ruchani legabe anivraim. But compared to the created beings of this specific world, it's considered to be ruchni. And therefore it does not unite with them at all. So now we know that when we look at the mashal of the sun, we understand that it's an amazing mashal. It really covers, as we learned in our previous classes, it covers a lot of details. Okay, it shows different aspects of the light. But nevertheless, there is one aspect that he does not show. And that aspect is how it unites with the world, meaning the nimshal, the light of Hashem, does unite. Okay, but the light of the sun as a mashal does not. So therefore, we need an additional mashal, which would be what? The Or Hashem, the Or Haner, right? The light of the candle. Okay, Rak al Yidei Sheshora Behem. Okay, but the sun, it only dwells on them. Okay, Tuchal Or Hariyah Lishlot Behem. Right, only because it's rest upon them can the power of sight rule over them. Okay, we will talk about the power of sight a little bit later. Meaning, just because the sun dwells on whatever object it shines on, okay, our eyes are capable of seeing these things, right? And we're going to go into detail how eyes work, why we see, how we see, and so on and so forth. Okay, but if it would be pitch black, we wouldn't be able to see anything, right? The only reason why we see is because of the light. ונמצא שהאור של השמש נמשך מלמעלה למטה בדרך אור ישר. Okay, and we know that the level, the aspect of the sunlight shines from above to below, right? And that's b'derech or yashar, right? In the direct light, meaning in a straight light. Mashenker or haner. So now, what I would write right now, if I would have a piece of paper, I would write the mashal of the sun, and would write next to it or yashar, because that's the detail he's giving us, right? Mashenkin or haner, but it's not like this, the or of the candle. Hu or hanimshach me'esha yisodi. This is the light that is drawn from elemental fire, meaning it's part of the 4 elements by which Hashem created the world, right? Esh is one of them. Okay, so who remembers 4 of them, right? It's earth, it's water, it's air, and fire. והוא גם כן מדלת יסודת שבעולם הזה, רק שהוא יסוד היועצר רוחני, right? But the fire is the most spiritual element among the 4. Okay, שבדלת יסודת, right? אבל הוא בערך אימיים, but although it's most spiritual one, but yet he's within the category. And that's most important one. The sun was not within the category. Therefore, he couldn't unite with them. But the light of the candle is within the category, and therefore it could unite with them. That's why we need a second mashal. Because one might think like, okay, the properties of the light are the same. It shines in the same way. But it's not. One is uniting and one is not uniting. What do you mean by uniting? Where do we see the candle uniting with the elements? Okay. Anyone who worked on this can chip in. How do we know that the fire unites with the elements that are in this world?
The wick and the wicks.
Exactly. So we see that how the fire actually operates. It consumes whatever it's working with. If it's a wood, it consumes the wood. If it's working on oil and on a wick, it consumes the oil and wick, right? And that's how, and based on how much oil there is, the more fire there will be. So that shows that it's actually able to unite with them. It's part of the creation. Like when you look at a candle, you're not thinking of 3 different elements. You actually see that it's one unit. Okay, that's working together.
So Mila, are you distinguishing between uniting and engaging and having an effect? For instance, the sun has an effect on us. It
but it's not uniting with us. It's not uniting with us. It's a 5th element.
So you're saying because the sun doesn't change, even though it helps plants to grow?
No, it's not about that. It's whether it's changing or not changing. It's whether it has an ability to unite with the elements. We see with fire, it actually unites with the elements. Now, with what does sun unite? It doesn't. It shines. Obviously, the earth has benefits from it. We have photosynthesis and all kinds of different things that are happening because vitamin D on our skin, right?
Right.
It's helping us to, but it's not becoming one with us.
Okay.
It activates certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For example, like vitamin D production in our skin, it activates that, but it doesn't actually transport vitamin D into our skin. You see?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's indirect.
Yeah, it's indirect. Well, it's because of it. It's obviously activating it. It's obviously doing something, but it's not actually transporting it into our skin, right? Mm-hmm. Where with a fire, by the actual consumption of oil, the more fire there is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now what does this mean? This refers to, in the Nimshal, we're going to skip to the Nimshal, right? It's paragraph 12. But we see here, the more we engage with Memala in this world, the more we bring Memala into it. For example, when we do a mitzvah, right? We engage directly with Memala. So by us doing particular actions, we cause more Memala to come into our world. Okay, so therefore we see that with a candle, the more there is chomer for the candle to consume, the more light there will be, right? The longer candle will be. We see that if I want my Shabbos candles to light 6 hours, I have to put more paraffin or oil, right? So the same thing is with a nimshal. The more I want to engage with godliness, there's actually a formula which is called Torah mitzvahs that Hashem gives us, that by doing this, we engage more in this light. Okay, we may not see the direct effect the same way how we have, engage with the actual candle and a fire. It's a very physical thing that we actually could see with our own eyes. But nevertheless, that's the reality. Now, with the sun, it's more removed from creation. The sun just shines. I cannot make more sun, right? I cannot do anything. There's absolutely nobody on earth who could do anything to bring more sunlight into the room by doing something to the sun. Yeah, we all agree with this? The sun has a set schedule. When it rises, when it sets down. It has 28-year schedule. Nobody could say, I have control over sun, that today my summer is going to be longer, 2 months longer than it was last year. Nobody has control. It's only Hashem can control such a thing. Okay? So, or you know what? Today I could make that the sunset is going to be at this particular hour. I have no control over it. We just know how the sun operates, and we could figure out when the sunset and sunrise is going to be, but we don't have control over sun. Okay, now the candle we have control over. Okay, so since the creation was created in such a way that it's both like Or Yashar, like sun, that Hashem is shining. That's it. Hashem is creating the world. At the same time, there's also Or Chazar. Our actions matter. We can change the reality. Okay? So therefore, only presenting Or Yashar aspect of the light wouldn't be correct, because we also need to have a mashal that our brain can understand how we add to the equation. Yeah? That's why we need Or Haner for that purpose. Yeah? Clarity? Clarity check. Everybody is here? Beautiful. Okay. Shemimenu nimshach lemata b'chinas or. That from this aspect, we have the level of light, Gashmi b'nivroim. V'haoru gam ken rag Gashmi l'gabe. Oh, we did that. Okay, sorry. The next paragraph. Okay. Rag al yidei shoshura b'hem tuchal or haruiyah. Okay, we did that too. Mashenkin or haner, right? And it's not like this with the light, with the candlelight. Who or hanimshach me'esha yisodi. We did that too. Okay. Now, how does it unite? It unites with the creation al yidei hitachdusoi b'shemen uptilan, right? Through its unity with the oil and the wick. Oh, so now we have control over the fire, right? In order to consume them, and through its consumption, okay, yitafas ba'or, the more light could be added. That in accordance in the same amount of the oil, okay, the duration of the light will be. ונמצא שהאור הזה הוא בדרך אור חוזר. Right, and we see that this light is in the way of or chazer. Okay, so therefore, please do yourself a favor, write down ner / or chazer. Now we're going to put that together into our table shortly.
Mila.
Okay, milamata lemala. Yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense to, because now it's going into chayos, so wouldn't it make sense to complete at least part of this or until, up to what we've done now, so that we don't forget it?
Yes, we could add that. Just 1 second. Okay, so what do we know here? Right, in or, in light, right? We have or yashar, right? Or yashar. Okay, so I'm adding here. Okay.
Which is also makif.
He didn't say that yet.
He did actually right in the beginning. I don't know if you read it. Yeah. It's in the second paragraph of
okay, great. So we're gonna put that.
Yeah.
Chazer or chazer, and we're gonna put over here makif. Makif. Okay. And I'm just gonna put it on the second line.
If you take out the word or, then because we already have or, you can just put yashar and makif.
Okay, that's a great idea. Or yashar makif, and this is or chazer. Chazer. And that's pnimi, right?
Right.
It didn't mention that specifically about the candle, but we know it. Okay, now, and which two mashalim are we for or? Hmm?
Okay, those people you should be able to answer at this point.
The sun and the candle.
What is the mashal for the or that is yashar or makif?
They're the same? Yashar and makif are the same?
Yes. And this is the light of
the sun.
Very good. Yes, this is the light of the sun.
And the light that is pnimi or choser is, what is the mashal?
Candle.
Right, the light of the candle.
So we're doing it in real time.
Wait, so can I ask, is the or choser, what you're saying is mamala, is that also panimi? That's what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, or mamala is pnimi because it actually penetrates as opposed to shines, right? Like the light of the candle. Yeah.
So would you define the yashar and makif as diffuse? Would that be an appropriate adjective?
What's diffuse? I don't think I know the meaning of diffuse.
Diffuse to me is like maybe the opposite of concentrated, like it's all over. It's spread out.
At the same time, he mentions that. He mentions previously, if you remember, that it shines upon all of creation in equality. It's equally distributed, right? It doesn't have this element of individuation, right? That's the word of it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of concentration, because if the light of the sun were for instance, you can't stare at the sun. It would be too much for us. We would burn up. So
diffused, I mean, you're already touching the aspect of tzimtzum. That's what causes the diffusion. That is kind of, yeah. But that's, I wouldn't, he doesn't say it openly, put it this way. Yeah, we're working with text. He doesn't mention this openly in the text. So maybe there is room to interpret that way, but we want to stay as close as possible to the text.
Mila, can you, just to make it easier for people to see, can you bold the Yasher and Makif and Choser and Pnimi and make it a bit bigger if possible?
Yeah, it will be bigger because now it's smaller because it's a half of the screen.
Right, okay.
That's why, yeah.
And also just to make it easier for you to write sunlight and candlelight, so it's not as many words.
Right. So we could make it a little bigger then.
Yeah.
Sunlight. Okay.
Just in general, if people can give some feedback, are you able to see what we're doing? Is this useful or is it too small for you in general? Something, Miriam, Ilana, you
I can see and it's helpful.
Okay.
I can enlarge it on my screen, so it's fine.
Okay, good. All right, good. So we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, 20 should be good. Okay, great. Let's move on. So you see, we're filling it in. Oh wow, what happened today? We have over over 11. Our usual number is 11, but now we have Baruch Hashem so much more. Okay. Bechinas Achayus. Oh. Now we also realizing that sunlight and candlelight are not enough. Right? So we are in a mode of it's not enough. It's not enough. Why it's not enough? Who remembers from last class? Why the sunlight and the light of the candle is not enough? Miriam, you're muted. I see you. Yeah. If you want to say something, why the light is not enough, the way we know the light? Because the light of Hashem, does it only shine?
It doesn't animate the body. It doesn't unite. Neither of them unite with the physicality.
Yoni, do you want to just say that again?
They don't animate the body, the physicality. They only are resting on it. Like, even though the light of a candle unites with physicality, it still shines. It just gives light. It doesn't animate a body. It doesn't change whatever's around it. And
Right.
the sun's the same.
Okay, just as the nature of light, what you're saying is correct. The nature of light is just to show you what is already there, but it's not animating it, as you say, from within. So that's why we're going to need another mashal. You know, in previous paragraphs, he spoke about why, when you get into the rochav of something, you need many mashalim. That there's not one mashal that can capture all the details of how Hashem functions in the world, because it's impossible. Then that thing would be Hashem. So we're looking at these different mashalim to understand different aspects of how Hashem functions in the world. And the different mashalim, you know, when we come to understand the nimshal and make that connection, right now we're just looking at the mashal, but it'll draw it closer to our minds and then really be able to bring it into, you know, a deeper understanding. So this is also why we need additional mashalim.
Okay, sorry. Baruch Hashem, 2 of my kids are home, so So I'm not sure what was the discussion about. So what was the reason why?
No, we
Good?
covered it. It was,
I
yeah.
covered it. Okay, beautiful. So now the light is not enough. We need life force. Okay? Because the sun doesn't enliven anything, and the candle also doesn't enliven anything. So if we are to think about one entity, one creation, and this is the key word, that it has to be a creation, okay, that enlivens something, what would that be? That would be the soul. Actually, that's the only creation that goes into the gather of creation and also enlivens. That's the soul. There's no other creation that actually enlivens anything.
Can I call Moshe? Do you have Moshe's number?
So that's why we need to have another mashal, and that would be the mashal of soul enlivening the body. Okay, so we're going to put it here. Soul enlivening the body. And we're going to keep these, these words here because every word is essential. Remember the words, we learned it from, the beginning of the second chapter, that the words, they have two characteristics, right? They're the words of Chachma and then they're the words of Bina. Now, for example, Naria pointed out, right? We could keep just sunlight. Okay, that's the Chachma, because we can't remove any of the letters from here without actually altering. But if I would say the light of the sun, there are a few words there that are more descriptive, and that would be going to the category of Bina. Okay, so now the soul enlivening the body, we can't really minimize it. Why? Because it's not just the mashal of the soul. Okay, why? Because if we're just going to say the soul could be a mashal to many different things, but we need the aspect that specifies what aspect of the soul that we're using as a mashal. That is the soul enlivening the body. Yeah, you see that? So that's why this is essential words. Okay, amazing. So the soul enlivening the body. Just 1 second. I just need to give. Okay. Mashenkin chayut hanefesh. Right? That's not like this. The life force of the soul. Okay. Yesh lo chibur be'ivrei haguf. Actually has such unity with the parts of the body, with the limbs of the body. Okay, mitmazek bahem b'chol ever lefi mazgo. Right, so the vitality of the soul has connection with the limbs of the body and becomes blended within them, each limb according to its makeup and characteristics, meaning constitution. And therefore, what it does, the vitality changes from the nature of spiritual vitality to the nature of physical vitality. Okay. וגם האיברים משתנים ממהוסם במה שבתחילה לא היה בהם. Okay, and that is the key word, right? That also the limbs change from the former state. At first, there was no life in them, right? לא היה בהם חיוס, ועתה הם חיים. That now they are alive. מחיות הנפש הנמשך בהם. And why are they alive? Because of the chayus, the life force of the soul that is being drawn down into them through the soul. Okay, so that's why we need to have such a mashal. Okay. Right, and therefore the vitality comes in different levels. Right, in each limb according to its level. But it's not like this as light. Why? Okay, the light spreads through the whole space equally. Okay, it doesn't say like, oh, you know what? Mila is writing here. I should shine on Mila's paper more because she needs light more. There's no smart light. They didn't create smart light now. Okay, the light shines. If you need more light, what do you need to do? You need to come closer to the light. You'll have more light, right? But the light is not smart to differentiate. Oh, you know what? I'm actually shining on a kid's bedroom right now. Maybe I shouldn't shine so brightly. Doesn't have that. But the soul does. The soul says, oh, I'm enlivening the brain right now. Brain is the main organ. I should give more highs to the brain versus to the fingernails. Okay, so the soul has that ability. The soul is so smart. Okay, not the light. So therefore, that's a perfect mashal. Okay, v'shefa. Zois nikra shefa b'derech hislapshus. Okay, so the soul actually enters, and this shefa is not just in a way of hashra. It's not just like, oh, I'm shining. It comes in the hislapshus. It actually encloses itself in the makabel. Okay, so now we have two types of shefa. Hashra, okay? Shefa, right? Shefa, hashra, and hislapshus. Okay, and this is very interesting, okay? Because that's why we need the mashal of the soul. Gam sheba murgish be'ivri haguf. You see, now we're going to say like, okay, we're going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, we're going to zoom in into how the soul gives life to the body. It enlivens it into two ways. Okay, and we could say that it's done b'derech klal and b'derech prat. In general, it gives the life force on the level of the heart. The heart is pumping life force. Then it goes into individual limb. That's prat. So remember, right? So it comes in the, although it comes into hislapshus, it divides into two. Derech klal, right? Klal, general, and then derech prat, particular. And therefore, because it does, so the soul enlivening the body on the level of chayus, that would be derech klal, general. Okay, that's going to be derech klal. Now we need a mashal. Okay, we need another something that will show that it actually goes into particular, right? Obviously, different creations have different level of chayus. How do we know? Stones. It's also a creation. They have a certain level of chayus. That's called domem. The category of tzomeach, right? The category of vegetation has a different level of chayus revealed, right? Obviously, they grow, you know, they decay and all that, right? You see that it's more alive than the stone. Then there is tzai, animals, birds. They have a totally different level of chayus compared to the tzomeach. And then there's medaber, right? Medaber versus chai is the level of intelligence, okay, that we have as medaber. So now we see that within the 4 levels of creation, there is a different levels of chayus. So the same thing is within the body. Within the body, we have all 4 things, right? We have domem, that's our hair, right? And fingernails. Then we have tzomeach, that's actually tzomeach, right? Then the water that in our body is, and the minerals are domem, the hair and the nails are tzomeach. Then there's a chai, and then there's a medaber. Okay, so within our limbs, meaning within our body. We have all this. So now we need another mashal. What would be that mashal that will show the soul enlivening the body in a particular way? And that's koach hatnua. Okay, because now that one also divides into two. One is the soul differentiating, not just generally enlivening my body, but differentiating that my brain has koach lahaskil, the power. You see the word koach on the bottom. It's koach lahaskil. We know already koach hamaskil. Koach hariyah, the power to see. The koach of the tnuah, power of movement, right? That's all powers. But then there's even more specific differentiation within the koach, which is what? I have koach lahaskil, but what am I maskil at the moment? This particular concept. You see? Now, I have a power to see, but what do I see right now? My screen. Okay? I have a power to move, but what kind of movements I'm making right now? You see? So the koach has two categories. Okay? A general categories of, right? So we can actually put this line here as well, because the koach also we see from, cloud to prat. Okay, this would be the power to think, we're going to call it, okay? Power to see, power to move, power to move. I'm just going to make it a little smaller so it fits in. Okay, that's one. And then power to think this particular thought. I need a little bit more room. Okay, power to see this particular image. Okay. Power to move this particular movement. Okay? We're getting it? It's too small. Yeah? You see, it's in real time. All the edits. Okay, we'll come up with something, a little bit more comprehensive. But these are the thoughts, okay? So that's why the mashal of Chayus HaNefesh is not enough. Why? Because it talks about a general enlivening. But we're not just a bunch of like amyobes, right? Like it's just like a very simple one cell entity that is alive, okay, and just moves in chaotic, whatever, right? We have so many functions, so many individual functions in the body that it's a perfect mashal for both. So for chayus, right? It's a general life force that our heart delivers to us, pumps. Okay? And the individuation. So let's see that in a text. אך בחינת חיוס הנ"ל, גם שבא במורגש בעברי הגוף, בכל מקום מבחינת חיות פשוט, right? Yeah, this vitality, although it is felt in the limbs of the body, it's nevertheless simple vitality. It's simple. Simple because the function is to enliven the body. And unfortunately, I mean, you see many people, they are still alive, but they cannot move, they cannot see, they cannot do anything. The heart is pumping, the lungs are breathing, and then that's it. There's no individuation happening in the brain, happening in the body, in a brain, a movement, or something like that, right? So that's a simple vitality. Okay, they just lay down in coma, and that's it. Okay, you see, so they have the chayus, but they don't have the koach yet revealed within the body. וגם ההרגשה שבעברים מרגיש שם עושה הוא פשוטה. And the sensation the limbs feel is also simple. היינו שכולם מרגישים איך שהם החיוס בחינס נפש המלובש בהם. That they all feel, meaning the limbs feel how they are alive from the soul that is enclosed within them. That's it. No individuation. In contrast, the power of movement and action, u'pu'ula, הוא מה שמצמצם החיוס שביד, ונעשה כוח פרטי להיות ממנו תנועה בלבד, וכן כוח השכל במוח. Right? So in contrast, the power of movement and action is when the vitality, the general vitality in the hand becomes constricted and becomes a particular power, so that from it comes only movement, and similarly the power of intellect in the brain. Okay? But that's what we're talking about, the first level of koach. Hainu al yidei islapshus hanefesh bekelim chitzonim nikre gidei adam. Okay, now he moves into a whole new chapter. That's when we need to take a deep breath, because don't be scared, because he's gonna go into more details. Now he's talking about, you know, the vessels here, right here. Okay, so we're gonna work with these two columns, the vessels and organs. Okay. Now, through the hislapshus in kelim chitzonim, right? So now we all of a sudden realize that there is a new level here, which is called kelim chitzonim. Okay. External vessels. Okay. Now, you know what? I'm going to do it. Well, I know that it goes down there. He didn't tell it to us yet. Okay, so we're going to put it on the side. Okay, so we just write kelim chitzonim. Okay, let's go back to the text. Okay, that this is through the soul's enclosement in the external vessels called gidei dam. So now I know kelim chitzonim are called capillaries. I think I made a mistake here. Did I? No, I did it correct this time. Okay, so there is a kelim chitzonim called capillaries. What happens then? Okay, blood capillaries, as explained elsewhere, where when it's grasped in the inner intermediate vessels, which is gidei hargasha, nerves, and gidei dofik, arteries, it is only the aspect of vitality above the aspect of power. Okay, good. So now we know a few things. We know three things exist. Okay. Okay, kelim pnimim, right? And this is what was nerves. Okay, that's going to be obviously higher than kelim chitzonim. Okay, then we have kelim emtsoim, intermediary kelim. Okay, and these are arteries. What's arteries is gidei dofek, okay? Okay. Dofek meaning the pulsating gidim. Gidim is, what do you call gidim? We know gidim, right? What was the gidim? There's veins, right? The gidim is this straw-like entities that were coming out of the aquifer. Remember the gidim? We use that word, the gidim. It's, you know, Naria, help me. What was that? The expression that we used?
Yeah, that's correct. It was coming out of the corpuscle.
I know, but what we called gidim? How did we translate it? Yeah, it's like a veins within the earth. Yeah, that are coming forth out. Meaning it's like a straw-like entity. So we have a lot of straw-like entities in our in our system, our nervous system, our blood vessels, right? These are all gidim. We actually have, men have 365 gidim, right? Ramach ivarim v'shisa gidim. We say that, right? So all this is gidim. So now what are these gidim? Okay, so the gidim, they go into 3 categories: nerves, arteries, capillaries, right? We also have these, that makes my hands move, those little, strings that you pull, that are being pulled right here. These are also gidim. So whatever that is. Okay, so now they go into 3 categories: kelim pnimi, kelim emtsayim, and kelim hitzayim. Okay.
Well,
now
the word for
he's
gidim
saying
is
that
sinews.
kelim emtsayim, right here, right? These are arteries they only distribute chayus. Right? Imagine this: my aorta is beating, my blood is coming out of my heart. Where it goes, it's just a general flow. Then there's a specification that is being done through my liver. Okay, my toes get this amount of blood. Actually, the quality of blood is different. The oxygenation level of what my brain gets is very different. How do you know? Anybody had a kid who, I don't know, bumped their head and the blood was coming out, right? It's an exceptionally bright red blood. Okay, whether you cut your toenail a little bit deeper, that blood, by quality of it, is very different. So who controls all that? What organ that, makes that differentiation is the liver. Okay, so we're going to put them here. Kelim chitzonim here, kelim emtsayim here, and kelim pnimim are right here. Okay, so nerves would make more sense. Now, we're also going to be differentiating them by organs. Okay, the kelim chitzonim is more on the level of koach. The kelim emtsayim, arteries, are chayus, and nerves are or, the light. B'derech klal b'chinas meziga b'nefesh, we're right here, right? B'derech klal meziga b'nefesh b'dam nikra b'chinas koach shu koach haklali, right? And general, the blending of the soul within the blood is called the aspect of koach, which is power, a general power in which all particular powers are measured and in a concealed way. And afterward, they come into revelation, each one in its own limb. Okay, so this is what we're talking about right here, right? The power to think, the power to see, the power to move, all these are general powers. But when I'm thinking a particular thought, when I'm seeing a particular object, or when I'm moving a particular movement, then it becomes even more mitzumtzum. Okay? Okay, and this is what it says, Gizo hadamu nefesh, right? That this is like, the dam is nefesh. Ubchinas nefesh ashura bekaved. Oh, now we have new detail. So the koach is the level of nefesh, okay? We're going to use that information. Okay. So you see how you build things? Nefesh, amazing. Now I have nefesh here. and it's the aspect of liver. Okay, that's going to be to the organ, to the category of organs. Okay, next. V'ruach hachayim shebelev nikra b'chinas ruach. Okay, and this life force, okay, that are in the heart, it's called ruach. Amazing. So now he's telling me that the level of chayus, which is right here, is the heart. So I'm going to put it up here, heart. And this is corresponds to which level of the soul?
Ruach.
Yeah, ruach. Okay. Whew. You see, like he's a little bit all over. He first mentions, the organs, then he mentions its functions, or sometimes he mentions its functions, and then he mentions its, which is great. He's playing with our brain. Okay, he wants to see, are you dedicated? You're really following me through? Can you organize this piece of information before I give you something more complicated or something more abstract? Right? So if you survive this passage, you survive this, 11, it's an upgrade for your own nervous system. Why? Because if you could make sense out of this, that means you're good. Amazing. Your brain is working. Next. Okay, so it's a preparatory work, because he's not going to give us information that we don't have kalim to receive. This is how we create our kalim. Okay, by organizing. Okay, like for example, you're not going to buy new furniture into your house if you cannot maintain the current furniture, right? Like it's just not going to happen. You have a certain amount of items in your house. Are they organized? If you can handle organizing this, then you could handle, something more bigger, right? So the same thing is here with our brain. Are we organizing this piece of information? So that means a mashpia gives according to the kalim of the makabel. What does this mean? How big is our kalim? Our kalim are ready? Are we ready for real thing that we're really like yearning? Like, I want to know Hashem. Okay, you want to know Hashem? It has a lot of details to it. Okay, so we're creating that foundation by foundation. Okay. But okay. Now, obechinas chayus, right? Obechinas neshama shabamoach, right? So now obechinas chayus, right? That was the aspect of chayus, karma. Obechinas neshama shabamoach, obechinas or, rako, obechinas or pnimi. Oh. So now neshama is or pnimi. Where is it going to be?
Brain.
Brain, very good. So we have general, we're going to put here brain. Yeah, I'm going to put on the lower end. There's a reason why I'm doing it. Brain. Okay. And to which level it corresponds of the soul?
Neshama.
Right, yes. Neshama. Anybody knows why I'm putting brain here and not all the way up? Because brain is a vessel, okay? It comes, meaning whatever information gets into our brain comes in the way of enclothement, right? But remember what he said about Or Makif? Okay, that it's in the way of Hashra, right? Just shining. Now, that goes more into Or Pnimi or Chazar, right? Let's look at the text if that's what it says. Okay, Bechinas Or Rakshu Bechinas Or Pnimi. You see, He says, the brain, it's only or pnimi. Why is it? Well, because my brain is a creation, and the light in my brain goes through or pnimi. It doesn't come, it's like a candlelight. It comes as or chozer or pnimi. It's enclosed in my brain, right? Okay, or makiv hu b'chinas or makiv hu b'chinas or makiv b'chaya v'yechida kanal. And now we know that my chaya and yechida are right here, right? Like on the level of sunlight, on the level of yashar and makiv. Okay, so I'm going to put it right here. Okay, chaya and yechida. Yechida goes first, right? Because we're doing up down. Chaya. Okay. Got it? Now, it's going to be no organs there. Why is it? Because it's makif. It's above all organs. It's not b'derech hislapshus. It's b'derech hashra. Okay? So that's why there will be no organs there on that level. And the vessels are also going to be here like this. Okay? Because the nerves have nothing to do with chaya and yechida. Because chaya and yechida are dwelling on all organs of the body, of the entire body in equal terms. Okay, like the sun. Sun doesn't say like, oh, I'm sorry, that's Mila's house, that's Neria's house, that's, I don't know, Yoni's house. Sun has a schedule. I'm shining. That's it. Sorry. You want to sleep? Put a curtains on. But I'm going to shine through those windows. Okay. Whew. Let's see what else we're going to add to this. Oh, we're mamash by the end. Okay. Ki b'nefesh yesh oh, another detail. Now, truly, you might be like, wait a second. If everything is in the, soul enlivening the body, right? And the power to think and the power to see and all that, right? We just did it. Chaya, yechida, neshama, ruach, nefesh. Why we need this? Why we need this tumashalim? Sunlight, the candlelight. We need them. So he says, and within nefesh, there are all these aspects. Only they are not revealed in nefesh. Therefore, one must understand them through other mashalim, the light of the sun and the light of the candle. Meaning, what's happening in our brain is really not observable. Like, how can we know what's happening in our brain? We could see what's happening with our heart. I could just put my hand on my pulse and I could feel my pulse, right? Cannot put somewhere like, okay, I feel my thoughts are here. I mean, we become aware of our thoughts through actually processing them. But therefore, we need the other two mashalim that we could really observe how the sunlight works, because we cannot observe how our brain functions work through external observation. Me movement here, I could see I'm moving my hands, meaning I could observe with my eyes the movement of my hands. But I cannot observe something that goes so internally as my brain. But the good news that with brain science, we actually see that the messages of the brain goes in the way of a light, right? There's actually an electric signal that goes, okay, that transmits the thoughts, whatever, the brain, signals the body, not only thoughts, it's actually the whole maintenance of the body goes through the brain. Okay, so that's it. We have this nice, beautiful table right now, and Bezrat Hashem will send it to the group, so you have it too. But I'm sure you have your tables already.
Can you show this in full screen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it's full screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Or it's still divided?
No, it's full screen. It's good.
Okay, good.
So before we have questions, I want to get some comments from you. How this works for you. Like, what did this give you clarity? Like, what is your response in general to mapping it out like this?
Yeah, Nuria.
Yeah.
So because of having made the chart that you suggested last week to make, there was familiarity with it. And I think this really helped. It's gave a focus, clarity, right.
Okay, great.
It was a good review, a good way to visualize.
So Alkalea, what I like what you're saying is that you actually did the work yourself, as we suggested. And so when you're coming to this, you're already familiar with it because you basically created a vessel for this, within yourself. So then you get clarity. The more vessel you have, the more light you can put into it. So that's great. Okay, excellent. Anybody else? Somebody who can admit to not doing the work, how does this help clarify for you?
I can admit I didn't do the work because I wasn't here last week. But I would like to ask, how does this, can you bring it down to practically how can I use it, understand it, interact with the Shem with it?
So, what we have here first is we just want to understand the mashalim before you go and then you understand the nimshal. So, it is frustrating in a sense because you want to know, especially as women, we always want to know, like, how can I apply this? And you'll hear this a lot as we go along, that it's not always about application, it's about understanding. And so the next paragraph, he's going to talk about the nimshal, which is like what this corresponds to. But if we don't have this as a solid structure in our mind, if we don't understand the mashalim, when we go to the nimshal, we're going to get lost. So that's why we really wanted to, we don't usually spend 2 classes on one paragraph, but if this is not clear, so the nimshal is also not going to be clear. And then there's no clarity in general about, what is this all about?
Okay, so something I didn't understand, the makif and the panimi. This chart is all 3 aspects of Mamalikal Alman. So I thought makif is outside. No, it's does it belong in this chart? How does it fit in?
Right. So that's good observation, Sarah. So there is also a little misconception, right? That Yehuda Ilah, because this is a 3rd chapter, right? And it's quite in the middle. It's a paragraph 12. In the early paragraphs, we discussed that, the light of Hashem comes in 2 ways, right? In Mamala Kol Almin and then Soev Kol Almin, right? So now the Soev Kol Almin, we all know that is being as Makiv, as a general light. And all of a sudden, if I'm understanding Sarah's question correctly, all of a sudden in Mamala Kol Almin, we also bringing the idea of Makiv. How could that work, right? Are we really talking about Soev Kol Almin here already? Or we are still talking about Mamala Kol Almin? Okay, so there is an overlap, 100%. So when we're talking about Soev Kol Almin, Chaya and Yechida, the mashal of the sunlight, and this is also a mashal these are also a mashalim for the Soev Kol Almin, right? They always have to be an intermediary level, right? that will connect two levels, the lower level and the higher level, right? Because they're not abrupt. They're not like, okay, that's it, I'm done. Yeah, for example, if you look in a body, when we are talking about the koach, let's say, when that separation between chayus and koach takes place, actually, it's not an abrupt way. It's not like, like, okay, that's it, I'm done chayus, and then I'm going into koach. Okay, that's it, I'm done, having just a general power to think, and therefore I'm going to think that particular thought. It doesn't work like that, right? It's a very seamless transition, we call it, right? Meaning it goes into that general power and funnels it in a very seamless way. We don't feel that separation so obviously, right? Obviously, there is a separation. And even when we spoke earlier in the first chapter, between those gidim, between koach hamaskil and the actual chachma, there is something which is called chachma stima, right? The hidden chachma. So you all the time will see that intermediary kalim, even now here, right? We have kalim pnimim, kalim emtzayim, and kalim chitzayim. And if we're going to open kalim chitzayim, they're also going to have this three levels: the inner, the intermediary, and the outer aspect. And it's endless. It's going to split into this three. So here is also in the Or Makiv, which is Or Yashar, this is like kind of an intermediary step that will separate in a way. It's like a buffing zone between Yichud Ilah and Yichud Tata, right? And between the Sov Kalamin and Mamala Kalam. But that was actually a very, nice observation that you made. Yes, it is very similar, but then you'll see because it has more shaychus to the world, it's kind of have one foot in Yehuda Tata and the other foot in Yehuda Ilah. And that is like a bridge that allows, these two concepts, to kind of, move from one to the next. As we're going to do as we do these binaries. But this is the beginning stepping foot, right? So that's just thinking about this, focusing mainly on mashalim, but, creating those parallel realities, between, the brain and the heart and the liver, how it corresponds to the level of the souls, which aspect of Mamala Kolamin are we talking about, whether the Or, whether that's Chayus, or whether that's Koach. These are, pretty much creating the needed Omek and the Rochav at the same time, because this is what we're doing. We definitely going deeper than what we've done before, but we also want to create that space that would allows us, to go through that range. And we're going to do that, we're going to take a deep dive and then create a little rochab. And it's good to keep and maybe print out this, this table, or you could create your own tables, of this, or you have your own ways of, understanding it, which is great. But it's good to have it handy because we're going to be adding more and more details as we're moving along. Okay. For example, you could add here the worlds. Go ahead. You probably could guess to which world it will correspond to. Okay. You could go ahead and add here, the letters of Hashem's name, which we've done before. So you could more or less guess what would that be. But again, these are pretty much the four, for worlds. And four awarenesses of Hashem, and each one has their own unique world within it. We are just, doing mamash b'derech klal here.
Mila, will you post this on the WhatsApp group so that everybody can have access to it?
Sure. And by the way, before the class, with our own Iyun, but that's how powerful the Iyun is. Iyun, remember? What's the name for Iyun? From the first chapter. Come on, who can pull that drawer out of your brain? Iyun,
Contemplation.
no, you're right. But what that space of Iyun is called? Rabbi Hillel gave a very, very good, it's kind of like stuck with me. It's called Makom HaBirur. It's a place of clarification. Birur. Okay, what does this mean? I'll show you the map that we did with Neria off our memory. Okay, just skimming through B'derech Klal through the text that we learned, like this. This is what it is. You see this? Now, going through the koach of all the people who were in here, okay, and reading it over, that's how it looks. You see that it's more particular, more details added there, more clarification. That's what happens every time we read and we read again and we read again, because the more we read the same thing, the more subtleties we notice. You may, you know what, just for the sake of this thing, you see here, it says of a class copy. Okay, so we created this one that doesn't say class copy here. Okay, and it was pretty good, but you know what? As we were doing it, we added more things. For example, derech klal and derech prat, right? Was not actually need to put in here derech prat. We didn't do it. Okay, because he mentions these things there, but unless you really, you're really on it, in the middle of explanation, a thing could go into your minds like, oh, this is the better way of organizing it. Okay, so you get the idea. And when we're going to do that, I don't know, another 10 times, this table is going to get more and more refined, because that's what Iyun is. Makom HaBirur is the place of clarification. And you know what? When we're going to move forward, when we're going to complete our third chapter with all new details that we're going to fill into this table, it's going to be even more sophisticated, right? Because the more we dwell on things, the more refined the concept gets within our brain.
Mila, there's a question that Miriam asks on the chat, if you want to address it.
Sure. Let me see.
It's right at the end. Can
you explain hislapshus? It enclosed light as in the brain. Sorry, just missed that point. Yeah, meaning what's hislapshus? Let's put it this way. A sun is shining, the candle is lighting. The light allows us, to live our normal lives, because I cannot imagine life without light, right? I mean, none of us would. It's very hard for us to imagine such a life, okay? Because we can't. So now the light actually shines, but it doesn't enclose itself in whatever it shines on. Although it unifies with it, you see, when we see with a candle, right? He brings the candle as, a little bit, better mashal. The candle, maybe I could just stop sharing so I could actually see you.
I think, Mila, I think there was actually a slight confusion. Maybe this is what Miriam was referring to, that at one point, the term hislapshut was used in relation to the brain, but in the text itself, it's only from the level of chayus that you have hislapshut, and with the level of or is hashra. There's no actual hislapshut. So can you distinguish?
No. The confusion is not so. I'll tell you, even the light of the soul comes in the level of hislapshus. Why we brought the whole idea of the soul enlivening the body, the mashal was needed because the light of the sun and the light of the candle do not come in the way of hislapshus, but the soul, the light of the soul does come in the level of hislapshus. So even on the level of brain, that the first revelation of hislapshus takes place, it's still going to be in the level of hislapshus. That's why we need the soul enlivening the body. And that's why later on he says, well, isn't it enough to have the level of soul to take care of all the mashalim? He says it does. But because we do not know how exactly the light works, the properties of the light, that the faculty of souls, meaning the soul's ability to enliven the body in the way of a light, that mostly reveal itself in the brain, it's not revealed to us. So therefore, we need the two other mashalim for that. But this is not to say that in the brain there is no hislapshus. For sure there's hislapshus. How else can brain function? The soul encloses itself in the brain.
Okay. It's a little, I'm even a little bit confused because he seems to say in the text itself that Hitlapshut only takes place on the level, from the level of Chayus and Koach.
Can you point out where in text it says this?
When he differentiates. Hold on a minute.
Let's go to the text, because that's very important clarification to make.
Okay, so wait a minute. I'm looking. Look, he does say very clearly that the light of the sun is only Hashra. When he talks about the light of the candle, it's not clear that he uses that word. But let's see where he talks about. Oh,
yeah. Over here, if we look at the page 24, right here.
Yeah. He also says that the candle is in the way of Hashra.
Also, yes.
Yeah, and then
but it mitachet. The only detail that it does, it unites with yeah.
With
So
it.
shnei bechinas hem rag bechinas or bilvad, v'lo nimshach mehem bechinas chayus. Right. So these two aspects, it's only in the way of light, meaning they illuminate, but they do not give chayus. Right. Then he goes to bechinas chayus hanefesh beguf al yidei shaf'o shemashpia beivri haguf u'mechaye oisa mamash. Right. But the soul's vitality actually enlivens them. He goes back to or. It doesn't actually connect, okay, with the thing that it shines upon. That the thing doesn't actually changes because it lights. And then he says, and therefore, later on, right? Shefa ze nikra b'derech hashra. Right? There's shefa, it's in the way of hashra. Mashenkin chayuta nefesh, yesh lo chibur b'ivrei aguf. Right? That before they were not alive, and now they are alive. The light doesn't change as that. Okay? And then when he describes, ולכן חיות הוא בא בחילוקי מדרגס, בכל עבר תרדה.
So that's when he first describes.
And then it says over here, right? שמתפשט בכל מקום בשווה, ושפע זו is נקרא שפע בדרך הסלבשוס. And this shefa of the flow, right? Therefore, the vitality comes in different levels in each lip according to its level. Unlike light, which spreads throughout the whole space equally. And this flow is called the flow in the manner of Islapshus, meaning referring to the flow of the soul.
Right.
Yet this, and then he says, well, it's true it's in the way of Islapshus, but yet this vitality, although it is felt in the limbs of the body, it's nevertheless simple vitality. And then he goes into koach. That's why we need koach.
Right. But it seems to me that he's saying that Hitlapshut, the word Hitlapshut is only relevant from Chayos down. So then,
No.
okay, so then I'm not understanding. I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it at that.
No, because then he says over here, you see, this corresponds to the level of nefesh that rests in the liver in contrast to the spirit. For within nefesh, there are all these aspects. You see, he says over here clearly, this corresponds to the level of nefesh that rests in the liver, right? In contrast, the spirit of life, the nefesh, okay, in the heart, hold the level of ruach, an aspect of vitality. And the level of neshama, he says over here, you see, in the nefesh, he already differentiated that the level of neshama in the brain is the aspect of light. You see this?
Yeah. So light
So
has hashra, not itlapshu.
Exactly. Only that is the aspect or pnimi of the inner light. Or makiv is encompassing light of chaya and yechida. So meaning the 5 levels of the soul take care of the perfect mashal of mamalakul almin. But, he says, for within nefesh, there are all these aspects. Only they are not revealed in nefesh. Therefore, one must understand them through other analogies, the light of the sun and the light of the candle. But he already made the premise that the nefesh comes in the derech hislapshus. So therefore, the neshama in the brain is also in the derech of hislapshus. He didn't say otherwise. But because we cannot see how it happens, therefore we need the mashal of the candle and then the sun. Because we could, the brain couldn't function logically, couldn't function if it wouldn't be b'derech hislapshus. How is it functioning then?
Well, to me, that's a really interesting question about how the brain, how the light really works in the brain.
Because it is in the derech hislapshus. The neshama encloses itself in the body. Now, the problem with the neshama analogy, it doesn't create the body. It only enlivens it. So therefore, the mashal of the body will still have its limitation. We're going to talk about it later. Like there's still that separation between the neshama and the body. The neshama only enlivens it. So it has the aspect of light and the aspect of chayas. But it does not have the aspect of the creating part, the creating force. Where in Mamale, the light actually creates what it enlivens. So here we're going through this whole back and forth, but he's going to talk about it, I believe, in chapter 12 or 13, not chapter, the paragraph 12 and 13 about these limitations.
Okay. So Miriam, did that answer your question? Or did it take it in another direction?
No, I'll read through the text again and try and make sense of it. I can only sort of, it's quite abstract still. So it'll take time. We'll get there.
Okay, that's great.
So Mila, I need to leave, but do you want to continue, or do you feel that, do you want to continue with questions?
I mean, we could take a few more questions, and then, you know, if it's all, so then we would just need to internalize this a little bit more, to clarify this within ourselves, the information that we've learned. And B'ezrat Hashem, the paragraph 12 will provide additional clarity as to why we need to know all this, how that it really applies to the nimshal, because that's the main thing. The main focus is the nimshal.
Okay. So I'm sorry, but I have to leave a bit early, and we can continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Neria. Okay, any more questions? Clarifications, subtleties?
Can you explain, like on a big picture, that chart? Like, I feel like I got lost in the details a little bit. Is it possible to like step out and like give a whole?
Sure. So chapter 1 was more focusing on the overall structure of his Bainanus. What is it truly trying to accomplish? What is his Bainanus? And what his Bainanus actually accomplishes, down up, meaning from Bina of Bina all the way to the Bina Liba, which is the Bina of Atik, right? This is where the soul derives its pleasure from just existing, from being. And this is the level of Yechida. So that's what triggers it. How his Bainanus actually triggers that level. Then in chapter 2, he went on to describe how his Bainanus, the same as Bainanus, simultaneously brings us to the level of Tvuna, which is when the concept, whatever that concept is, actually gets engraved in the physicality of our brain, in the level of Klita. So then, after establishing that premise, right, of what actually happens to us doing his Bainanus, he goes into the 3rd chapter where he describes that there are 2 types of his Bainanus, meaning there are 2 levels of his Bainanus. One is Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tata. And then he says, we definitely must start with Yehuda Tata because that's something has more relevance with us and not to try to skip levels. And he refers to Yehuda Tata being more of what Bina is about, the details, because this creation has a lot of details, and Yehuda Ilah being more of what Chochmah is about, is actually seeing and experiencing what are we learning. So Yehuda Tata is really connecting all the details back to Hashem, realizing how they're all aligned within the structure of Hashem, okay, being in every detail of this creation. And Yehuda Ilah actually experiencing that expansiveness of us feeling the light of Hashem within us, but more in a way of seeing versus in a way of hearing, which is more corresponds to Bina. And this is way in the middle of it. This
Okay,
is
so
like
I ask
on
you a
one
question?
foot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. The going from the Yehuda Tata to the Yehuda Ilah, does each prat within this creation follow the same chain back up, or does you have to know separately?
Once you know the structure of the Hishtalshalos, you'll be able to take this pencil and trace it all the way back to the Atzmus or Ein Sof.
And is it the same for the pencil as it is for you?
No, we have all our individual experiences. It's going to be different. Similar in some way, but very different because we all process things through our own kelim. And this is why the process of refining our brain, refining those membranes, right, which we call where the Koach HaMaschil dwells, the Krumius Makifim Legimel Moichin, right, that's the 1st chapter, are very essential. Because if obviously we cannot process on the same level. Why? Because we all have our own ways. Like, for example, both of us are going to go to a movie or both of us are going to go see a sunset. We're all going to have our own experiences, although we're going to watch the same thing. But since we are processing through our own kelim, refining our kelim as much as possible to a human being to do is essential because obviously if a person is, has certain limitations to perceive, will not be able to appreciate the same level of experience they have, right? Like, well, let's say if a person is not refined enough to appreciate a piece of art, he's going to say, oh, that's a very nice picture. I could also make like that, right? So what are you going to say? Nothing. He has no concept of art. You know what I mean? So he's going to stare at this. It's like, oh, very nice. And let's move on.
Are you saying
you see these people going to the museums and staring at this picture for hours? What are they watching there? If you don't understand music, for example, right? These are very fine matters where like people could listen to the same music played twice and they will not know the difference. And the other one says, oh, you hear, he played that note differently. He's a professional, and this is just a beginner. And not a trained ear, that's the vessel. That's the keli. Ear is the vessel. Some of us are born, and some of us train our vessels. So these are the choshim that, you know, you're like, yeah, what's the difference? And some people cannot listen to other people playing. You know those people. I have some people that I know, they cannot listen to music because it's bad music, they call it. Because a person is not playing the piece correctly. They cannot listen to it. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm actually enjoying it. They're like, okay.
Wait, so are you saying
I'm not
that
a musician? What?
Right. Are you saying that with the hisbonenus, however much you understand it, that's how much of maybe like Hashem's light you're bringing down to be able to experience?
Exactly. That's why hisbonenus is one of the most common words in Tanya. Right? Because that's the path of that the Alter Rebbe opened up. That it's not just like what you are born. You could actually become a musician. You could train yourself to understand godliness if you want it bad enough and you're ready to do the work. And you're ready to break your brain, because the brain of Nefesh HaBahamis is very physical. It knows how to earn money. I don't need to get my soul excited to know about money. I don't need to get my soul excited to know how to bake this amazing sourdough because it tastes better. Right? I don't need to get excited about fashion. This is all Olam Haza stuff. I don't need to inspire my soul for these things. It's there. The inspiration is there because we process through our Nefesh HaBahamis things. Okay, but now to inspire Nefesh HaBahamis to understand God, that's like, why do you need this?
But if I want to understand how Hashem, like, it fills in like the pencil versus the cup, is that the same? Since it's still my brain doing it, like I'll follow the same chain.
Yes, because it goes into the gather of creation, so it follows the same chain, but not at the same time, because the letters that enliven the cup are different than the letters that are enliven the pencil.
So if I want to like meet Hashem within my cup or my pencil, I would need to know the specific letters in those.
Yeah. Well, you could. It's like the same way what we discussed. Like there's a general power, okay, that allows my brain to think, my eye to see, my ear to hear, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at something specific. So let's say I'm looking at my screen and I see Sarah. That's something specific, right? So my eye now has to access a koach level to see you specifically, right? And now my brain has to access a specific thought process to think about this particular thought. So there's more tzimtzum, right? Now I had an ability to see anything I want and can, but now I'm seeing you in the screen. So that's a tzimtzum. It's like getting married, right? There were many nice, beautiful, Jewish boys out there, but then you choose one. And that's a tzimtzum compared to the possibilities that you had, right? There were probably quite thousands of boys that you could have, or I could have married, but then you choose one. That's a tzimtzum. So it actually changes how we view tzimtzum, because a lot of times we view tzimtzum as something negative, right? It's a concealment. But now through proper hisbonenus, you'll see that, like, no, it's not really concealment, it's specification, because it reveals you to me, you're somebody, a particular person. It reveals my husband to me, it's a particular person. And I cannot stay in general. Otherwise, I would never get married, and otherwise I will not see anything.
So hisbonenus affects tzimtzum?
For sure, it affects the perception of tzimtzum, because tzimtzum is not kipshuta, right? Yeah, so the way we perceive tzimtzum is through hester, is through concealment. Once we refine our membranes enough in our brain, okay, and we are able to see past that tzimtzum, the tzimtzum is not kipshuta, right? That's the whole balagan that happened between Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gra. That was also a big makubal, how they understood, the Reb Chaim Vital's, explanation of the Arizal's tzimtzum. So that was that was on a higher plane. That was the machlokes about. It came down in an ugly story, but up there, that was the thing. And Alter was pushing the issue that Tzimtzum is not kipshuta. Hashem did not actually withtract. He withtract his revelation so that we could be, so that we could feel our own independence. So now what will happen in the Geula process? In the Geula process, we will remain individuals, but we will remove the negative aspect of the Tzimtzum, which is the concealment of God. So we actually will be able to see how Hashem is existing and creating this pencil without this pencil disappearing into Or and Sof. So meaning it's going to be Yesh, but Yesh Amiti, right? And we went in chapter 1, we went through all 4 levels of creation, right? Remember Ayin? No, Yesh, Ayin, Ayin, Yesh, right? It's Yesh Amiti, Ayin Hakol B'Yesh, Ayin Makor L'Yesh, and Yesh Nifrad. But this is
so we'll see all of it together.
Exactly, right. We're going to have best of the both worlds. It's not that we're going to vanish into Ayin and become nothing. At the same time, simultaneously, okay, we will feel our full existence, but not as a separate entity. As Mamash Or and Sof enlivening us and being completely one with it. And yet living in this physical world, eating and whatever else we're going to be doing.
And how does all this fit with the chart we just did today?
Well, it's only one part. Yeah, the chart today specifically describes information in paragraph 11. But what it teaches us, 2 fundamental principles of Iyun, right? It's analysis and synthesis, right? Meaning analysis when we take apart things, and synthesis once we create one big picture together. Okay. So we cannot do synthesis, which we want to feel yichud, right? We want to feel achdus of Hashem and yichud with Hashem before first separating and organizing it. So that's what Iyun does. Iyun separates analysis, right? We might like, oh my gosh, we're getting intellectual, but no. Once we separate, once we align, once we put things in the right category, then all of a sudden it starts making sense to us. It's like, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, that's what my heart does, or that's what my brain does. Because before, my heart and my brain were just floating different pots of, creation somewhere. We didn't know where to put it. What is it? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't have a place. But now when you create more charts like this, it helps you to understand, like, oh, that's its function. That's what it's doing. That's how I process information. Because that allows you to be in a control. That allows you to master your body. If you don't know what your brain is for, if you don't know what your heart is for, if you don't know what your liver is for, it's just an organ, right? So you cannot master your body, your energy of your brain, the energy of your heart, the energy of your liver. Okay, once you know what it is, now you could be master of it. Melech actually stands moach, lev, kaved. Right? That's how you become master of yourself. When you know its function and you know how to process things. For example, chapter 3, for all of you who remember in chapter 2, we went on how projects come from a possibility into a reality. Right? This is all, channeled down from, but anyway, Sarah, you are new. You're joining us after 2 years of study.
Sorry.
You wanted to mitzamtzum the whole year. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I'll be quiet.
No problem. I forgive it. But I mean, it's just a lot. We had a lot of discussions, and all these beautiful women survived with us, and they're still lingering around. Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but it's very rewarding. Yeah, and most importantly, it helps us expand Eretz Israel. That's what the Rebbe said. Yeah, the Rebbe gave a beautiful sicha on Chesmar Cheshvan in Nun Beis. You could look it up in our early, our first class talks about it. where he talks about expanding Eretz Yisrael. The way we know Eretz Yisrael right now is just one little fraction of what it's supposed to be. Okay, and the land of 10 nations. It was in Parshas Lech Lecha, where the Rebbe spoke in Tavshin and Beis, and the Rebbe said that in order to expand Eretz Yisrael, we need to conquer our moichin, and he introduced the whole idea of avodas hamoichin in Tavshin and Beis, and he said that through avodas hamoichin, we actually will expand the borders of Eretz Yisrael, because the land of 7 nations corresponds to Midas, and the 3 additional nations, Kenik, Nizi, and Kadmoni, is Moichin. So the Jew actually conquers through Avodah, and which Avodah needs to expand Eretz Yisrael is Avodah Samoichin. So Rebbe says, so what is Avodah Samoichin? He says, go to Mittel Rebbe. So Mittel Rebbe's Chassidus is Avodah Samoichin. Rechova Sanar, okay? And Rebbe says, for this reason, the works of the Mittel Rebbe were published recently. Well, and who directed the Kehos to publish the Mittel Rebbe's work? Because they were all in Ksav Rashi, okay, and arranged them together with you know, Reb Hillel Parch's explanations and all these beautiful books that we have right now, Shari Yichud, Contrasei Spailos, Shari Ora. This is all Rebbe instructing in Tavshin and Beis Kehos to do all this work. So yeah, so that's why we're here. After October 7th, we felt like, okay, we need to do something with Neria, and we created this group so we could expand Eretz Yisrael. So it definitely expands our brain, and we see certain good things. For example, we were celebrating what happened in Syria. Who would ever imagine? And the Rebbe says that when we do avodas hamoichin intensely and properly, the Eretz Yisrael will be given to us, meaning all the lands. It's actually a beautiful prophecy. It's all the way from Euphrates River all the way to Yam Gadol. This whole beautiful triangle. It's Mamash Archava. And yeah, this is what this group is about. In a nutshell.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, wow, it's 12 o'clock, 2 hours of expanding our mind. If there are no more questions, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you next Sunday, Be'ezus Hashem.
Thanks, Mila.
Sure, much hatzlacha.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I see Batsi Tiferet, you asked the question. Seeing is Chachma, hearing is Bina. Okay, sei gesund, all the best. Bezrat Hashem will post the recording for those who were not able to join us live. And I'll share the diagram in the group.